Welcome to Financial Issues, where we help you steward faithfully by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
This is Financial Issues, where we help you defund darkness and fund the light by investing with biblical integrity. Folks, welcome to our Friday show. Great to be here. Seth Udinsky, Sam Case, and back with us, your host, Mark Manila. Mark, we missed you yesterday, brother. Great to have you back.
It's good to be back on this first day of spring. Am I correct there?
This
is the
good day.
Spring equinox. This is the day that I love more than any other because it brings us into a refreshing, a renewal. We start seeing the green starting to come out in the grass and in the trees and in the bushes. I love this time of year.
We made it through the long dark.
We did it.
That's what I like to say.
We rode the storm out.
Now, of course, certain regions of the country might still feel like it's wintertime, but don't worry, folks. We're getting there. We're getting there. Mark, I totally agree. You know, I do believe God did this on purpose, that he put the celebration of our Lord's death and resurrection at the beginning of this spring season as a reminder of the new life we have in Christ. We see it all around us.
Exactly. Yeah, cool. Amen to that.
Yeah. Well, folks, we're thrilled to have you today. 610-363-1110. Give us a call. We would love to hear from you. Our phone lines are open. They'll be open for the next hour and a half. We got the show and then overtime, of course. It's going to be a great time. Focus Friday, overtime. Always love our Fridays. You know, guys, it's interesting. There's a war on election corruption right now. I don't know if you know this. The mainstream media might not be telling you this. It is our responsibility to tell you that this is happening. We have a special guest joining us later in the program to talk more about election integrity. Very important, Mark, as we're seeing these midterms coming down the pike. We have to know what's going on. So we'll be talking about that. First and foremost, though, guys, Sam, give us an update on what's happening with gold. We talked about this in our chat a little bit yesterday. And, you know, gold has been going up and down like crazy. Had a rough day yesterday. What's going on with gold?
Well, gold is right now on track to lose about 9% this week, sitting under $4,700 as of this morning. And frankly, analysts are pretty split about where it's going to go from here. Some are feeling pretty optimistic, thinking that it has a really good prospect in light of the ongoing war in Iran. For example, State Street's gold strategists are saying gold could jump probably a couple $100 in the next couple months if the Iran war escalates, but not everyone's feeling that way. Meanwhile, a third of fund managers surveyed by Bank of America, for example, said long gold is the most crowded trade on Wall Street and is at the same time even more overpriced as well. So one of the questions here, Mark, is, you know, we have this war going on, and you would think that the drive for safety and security would be driving people into gold, but that's not exactly what we're seeing. So what's going on here?
Well, yeah, there's so much to talk about on this, and yet it seems so easy to understand. Gold had a run-up that like we've never seen before, really. I mean, we saw this incredible run-up before the war. So because of that, I think that's taken a lot of the breath out of people going to gold for safety, because it's no longer safe. It's peaking. And as we've always said, gold is a great place to store, to hedge inflation over the long term, but it's not a safe asset. And as we saw this run-up, a lot of people are saying, I don't know, this doesn't seem like it could go much further. And I think they may be right. Even what you just said there, Sam, about gold could rise a couple $100. Think about that. It's at 4,000 something. That's only one, you know, that's less than 0.5%.
Right.
That's exactly right.
So that's not that big of a deal anymore. So what we're looking at is maybe gold is overvalued quite a lot, as we've been talking about. And from a investor point of view, a stewardship investment point of view, we started talking about gold at the beginning of the year, end of last year, and we started telling people it's time to lock in some of your profits from your gold. It's expanded from maybe 1% to 10% of your portfolio, or from 2% to 8% or something. It's really gone up, and it's time to lock it in. If you haven't yet, this may be a good indication. Even with war, gold's not able to push much further up. So it might be a good time to be locking in some of those profits. And you know, most people say, well, it's run up and it has the potential to go further. Why wouldn't I just hold it? Well, why not take that money you have? If most people are projecting a couple $100 rise in gold, that's 0.5%. Why not put it into other things that's going up 2, 3, 4, 5% in within a month's time instead of 0.5%? That would be my thought. And then bring down your allocation so it's more in line with historic ideas of where gold and silver should be.
Do you think the same logic applies for silver? We hadn't really been talking about silver. We've been talking mainly about gold. Or is that too different of an animal?
No, that's an excellent question. Silver's a little bit different. You have to look at silver different since it has industrial uses. I think we'll see silver to be a whole lot more volatile coming in the future here, because we need silver for all our technology. We need silver for everything, it seems like. Every type of battery, every type of electronic devices, seem like silver is needed everywhere. So we might see a more solid gains in that over time, with dips, obviously, because it's playing two sides. It's playing the precious metal side, which is going to go up and down, and then it's playing the industrial side, which we still don't have enough silver, and we're not mining enough to create the supply we need for all the technology. So that's going to be an interesting play in itself. And I don't think we're going to be looking at gold and silver the same as we have historically, now that we have a world that is still in need of silver intensive for technology, for industrial reasons, and not just for precious metal. So it's going to be a bit different there. But again, most of our listeners and our partners know from our newsletters and our commentaries that they should be already locking in their gains from the gold. That doesn't mean you need to sell everything off, but sell a good portion, get it back into its asset allocation corridor, whether that's 2 or 3 times more than the entry point or whatever. That's up to you. That's your risk preference. But it's getting to the time where you need to be concerned about if people start pulling out of gold because there's so many people in it right now trying to make that last buck, then we could see a fairly significant pullback in it. And that happens very often with gold. So.
Well said, Mark. And, it is important to know, folks, yesterday we did see gold and silver having a bit of a rough day. In the futures, though, this morning, they are both looking pretty good. So, Mark, this might be a good time, like you said. While
it might
the
be
rest,
a great time, yeah.
While the rest of Wall Street is feeling pretty good on it, take some of those profits, just like you said. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, lock them in.
Exactly.
Maybe find a blue light special in the pullback of the markets and move forward that way.
Absolutely. Mark, you mentioned that term blue light special, and we actually talked about it yesterday. Sam and I did briefly, not too much.
That's a blast from the past, actually, because isn't that a reference to Kmart, which doesn't exist anymore?
I think it is. But Mark, how do we...
All the old dogs of the market know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All the kids are saying, "What's a blue light special?"
That was the only big store we had in my town, in my small town. We had a Kmart.
That's awesome.
That was a big deal.
Yeah. So Mark, my question for you is, how do we find those blue light specials?
Well, obviously, anything new going onto the buy list would be good. You could look at the things that are already on the buy list and see if they have pulled back some.
Yeah.
If they have, that means that maybe they're a blue light special. Their valuation has come down, maybe because of the war. That's what we've been looking at. And we have seen, especially in the software and AI areas, we've seen a lot of pullbacks, which only pulled them back to being reasonable, I think, at this point. But there are some software. There's different areas where there are. And maybe what we ought to do is be a little more aggressive on this and maybe pull up a bunch of those for our partners and put them in one of our commentaries. Here's some of the buy stocks that have pulled back that may be a good entry point at this point if you haven't used them already. I think I'll do that this coming week.
We're almost out of time, but I see this really good comment in the chat. They want to know if all our conversation
show's over.
Can you believe it's
well,
so
for the
fast?
segment, they want to know: does that logic for gold and silver also apply for gold and silver miners, or is that also a different logic?
That is a different logic. Some of the minors still are doing very well, and we're not seeing the same craziness. But remember, a miner is a different, they have multiple, usually you could say they're a gold miner. That may be the majority, but they're also doing other minerals and precious minerals and things like that. So it's a little bit different. Plus you have the management in there. You have, is this a well-managed company or poorly managed company? You have all the fundamentals of a typical stock, which you don't have when you're buying a commodity. You don't have management. You don't have the fundamentals of that company. Are they borrowing? Are they leveraging? Are they overextended? Have they done well with their company? 610-363-1110, 610-363-1110. Call in. Let's continue these discussions.
Fear. Here at Financial Issues, we believe in being faithful stewards of everything God has entrusted to us, and nothing is more important than investing in the next generation. The most meaningful way we can do that is by sharing the hope of salvation with young people, giving them a foundation of truth that can shape the rest of their lives. Crossroads Kids Club is an after-school program that brings the gospel directly to elementary school children in public schools across the country. Week after week, volunteers have the opportunity to build consistent, Christ-centered relationships with kids during some of their most formative years. These aren't just programs, they're life-changing encounters that point children to Jesus and surround them with encouragement, mentorship, and biblical truth. Together, we can make a lasting difference for the kingdom. We can help reach children who may never otherwise hear the good news. If you feel called to be part of sharing the gospel with kids in public schools, visit reachourschools.com. Again, that's reachourschools.com.
When it comes to handling money, I'm lost. How to save, when to invest, where to invest. As a Christian, I don't want to give my money to people who are going to use it for things God hates. When I discovered Financial Issues, it was like a burden was lifted off my shoulders. Not only did I gain access to a simple investment strategy that I can manage myself, I also have the peace of mind that my money will not be going to companies that actively promote things that God hates.
Invest your money in a God-honoring way. Go to financialissues.org.
Did you know that an unborn baby's heart beats at an average of 120 times every minute? That steady rhythm, that precious sound, that's the sound of life. Preborn partners with local pregnancy clinics across the nation to help mothers choose life, providing free ultrasounds, counseling, and the gospel of Jesus Christ. To give, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby.
Folks, we're grateful for you. Get in the call queue right now. It is Focus Friday. We want to focus on you here. 610-363-1110. Mark, as we said at the top, there is a war in this nation, within this nation right now, and it's a war that's likely either going to lead to the rise or fall of America. What is this war here, Mark?
Well, the war is on voter fraud, and I know, just saying that all of a sudden we're going to see all the social media label me as a conspiracy theorist. But the reality is anybody with half a brain should know that there is voter fraud going on. We've seen it in many of the big cities. We've seen it in different areas. And even though people would put out some facts, most people would say, well, those facts can't be corroborated, and I mean, it's just crazy. So I thought we'd get to the bottom of this and bring in an expert. We have Seth Keshel here. He authored the book, The American War on Election Corruption, and I would love to bring him in and ask a few questions because he's the type of guy that you can't argue with, I believe. So Seth, welcome to the show.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me on. It's nice and early out here in Arizona, but this is a topic that bears discussion.
It really does. And you're not just somebody who wrote a book. You're a former U.S. Army captain of military intelligence and Afghanistan veteran whose razor-sharp analytical skills honed on the battlefield. And this is really cool because you use this for election forecasting, and you've also done the research to back up, as they're now using the term receipts in the media. You have receipts showing the fraud. So tell us, let's begin with the terminology. As a veteran in our armed forces, you're familiar with terminology of war. Why do you call the election corruption crisis in our nation a war and a crusade?
Well, the method of redressing grievances that we Americans have today is through our political system. We express our voice through the voting system. Now, if you go back through, and it pairs in well with what I'm going to talk about today, the psychology of mankind is to hold power and do all things possible to keep power. So in the old days, a new king would take the throne and he would put to death everybody from the previous line. So there would be no challenges to that throne. Right, then
that's not just old days. We see that in countries around the world within the last 10 years doing that. We see it in China still.
Exactly. And we have in the old clans in the field fighting it out to see who'd be in power. Then as suffrage became a thing, it came down to the social contract of whether you're going to respect the outcome of those elections. However, they need to be fair elections. So I wrote, knowing inevitably that I was going to have a lot of heat on me from the middle of the electorate, the center left of the electorate, that this is a fantasy. This is a Trump-born fantasy from 2020. I wrote Chapter 4. A history of election fraud. And I go through historical examples, not just throughout the whole world, but really laser pointed in the United States. So here's a couple examples of that. In 1864, there was a very serious scam with mail-in ballots to deprive Abraham Lincoln of his reelection. And it was put forward by supporters of Democrat nominee George McClellan, who had been one of Lincoln's generals he fired during the Civil War. And it came down to the state of New York. Now, all the other states that had absentee balloting for soldiers from the Union, they had a unit tally sheet. So the whole unit would have like a scoreboard, and the company commander would write the votes of the soldiers down and sign one document and have it securely turned in. Okay, that's a really strong chain of custody. Well, New York didn't have that. New York had individual mail-in ballots that had to be signed and notarized and mailed in. So what we had were two Democrats named Moses Ferry and Edward Donahue Jr., who tried to forge ballots, apply fake signatures representing non-voting wounded, dead, and fictitious soldiers because they thought New York would be the state that decided the race. Lincoln's reelection was not a certainty until a couple months before the 1864 election. Battlefield success changed things, but New York was within a point. So that was one really early example in American elections, of course, using mail-in ballots to throw elections.
Yeah. What about a more recent, like the last election?
Well,
do we have any proof on that?
Oh, the whole book is full of proof about the 2020 election. So the biggest problem with the 2020 election is that states have, Newt Gingrich wrote the foreword to my book. And I asked Newt to write the foreword because I want this to appeal to the rank and file Republican Party, like the folks that are in the Senate not willing to push through the SAVE Act. But Newt makes the case that elections are not so much stolen as they are rigged. So what my book reveals is that the crafting of certain types of laws, universal mail-in voting, automatic voter registration, and ballot harvesting, create the dynamics to have an election that leans only one way into a blue state. Trump won 248 out of 253 electoral votes not under automatic voter registration. So this should tell you why so many states are withholding their voter rolls from the DOJ. So the soft cheat today is the crafting of laws that make this sort of thing possible. But yes, throughout the book, the 2020 analysis, you can see the various examples of states that violated all their election laws. Ken Paxton's case, Texas versus Pennsylvania, makes the case that Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin eluded their own election laws to the point where it disenfranchised Texas's electors. So the whole book is the story of why American elections have been corrupted and how they can get back on track.
Well, let's talk about that aspect of it. What about the Save American Act? Will this have an impact if, and that's a big if, we can get it passed?
So the Save America Act, as far as it pertains to our elections, is really important because it's a very good bite at the apple that has 85 to 15 support. So we have to be able to get small reforms like this passed because that'll require the proof of citizenship requires someone to register essentially in person and bring that proof of citizenship in. So that will gut the automatic voter registration scam that people are going to DMVs or Health and Human Services offices and being plopped onto a voter roll that they may never vote anyway, but be voted for. And then you have the online voter registration scams are going to go away. And voter ID requirements, of course, are important. However, I don't think voter ID is why the states have corrupt elections. I think it goes hand in hand with a corrupt election system. And I think illegal aliens are being voted for when they wind up on the voter rolls through automatic voter registration. So that's clear.
Is there any way to prove that and then to stymie that?
Well, there are ways to prove that illegal aliens are registered to vote. There's been audits of numerous states, including California, where they're all over the rolls. All right, the expansion of mail-in balloting bloats ballot counts, even in red states like Arizona. I can look through the figures for Arizona and Pennsylvania. In fact, I have a comprehensive exercise near the end of the book about Pennsylvania starting in 2004. Then with the passage of a law called Act 77 in 2019, I believe the Democrats are capable of producing 600,000 more ballots than they otherwise would be able to get in a normal election held prior to 2020. So the SAVE Act does a lot of good things for elections moving forward, but it does not address problems with voter rolls going back. A number of states have voter rolls where your great-grandfather is probably still registered to vote. And you have all kinds of people that get added to rolls in states that have universal mail-in voting where a ballot is sent to every registration on the roll. The problem is not every registration belongs to a living and breathing and active voter.
That's funny because my oldest brother, who's a bit of a comedian, came to me one day and said, Mom voted Republican almost all her life. Now she votes Democrat. I said, what? Mom's dead. He said, exactly.
Yeah, I make the same joke about my dad who died in 2010. So yeah, that's another thing. You got to be able to engage with people. The book is also pretty funny. It contains my joke describing the elections crisis that we have today as electile dysfunction.
Oh. That's bad. I'm sorry. That's bad.
Yeah, I might have to withhold the rest of my definition given the nature of your show.
Yeah. Now, hey, so if the Save American Act won't do it, it seems like this year is so important. Is there any hope for this year's midterm election to be a fair election? I think people will always find ways to cheat, but if we can limit that, with the numbers that we have and, the number of true citizens that are of age to vote, we should be able to get a fair election, even with a little bit of cheating going on. But it hasn't been a little bit, it's been a lot in my observation. So is there any hope that this midterm election will be the least bit fair?
One of the first calls I got after Trump won in 2024, the very next day, was from the New York Times asking me, well, if there's voter fraud, then why did Trump win? And I had already seen on the figures. Of course, I stayed up late into the night watching the down ballot races, and I saw Wisconsin Senate, Michigan Senate, a couple days later, Nevada Senate, Arizona Senate all go downhill. In 2020, when Biden supposedly won, the Republicans gained 13 House seats. All right, well, in 2024, the Republicans only held a 220 to 215 House majority. So the cheat down ballot worked in 2024. Trump ran ahead of everything else in the battleground states for organic gains. But I can prove through the book that the 2024 election has many of the same bugs and problems that the 2020 election had. So if you're asking if 2026 will be fair, it's going to be in the context of what you see anywhere else, like in Major League Baseball in 1998. Well, is the game going to be fair? Well, both teams are going to have a chance to hit. Both teams are going to have a chance to score runs, but half the lineup is on steroids. So we have here that the Republicans, of course, can exceed Democrat ballot totals in various states, but you're going to have a number of states where the key races, California, for instance, 4 critical House races, I believe. You have 4 in Pennsylvania, where the states hosting these most critical races to decide majorities are still running the same type of elections that they've run for the last several cycles. So until the laws change fundamentally, then we're going to have a very difficult time preventing the same types of quote turnouts from materializing. And those turnouts are basically able to turn out a massive vote for a party that used to have to get folks to come out with enthusiasm like you had with Obama. Now you no longer need voter enthusiasm because there's a passive mechanism for turning out ballots, which is essentially cheating.
Yeah, we have about a minute, 30 seconds left. The book is The American War on Election Corruption, The Crusade to Restore Trust in Voting. Our conversation so far hasn't led me to believe that we're headed in that direction either fast enough or even at all yet. So in the next 20 seconds, sorry about this, what do you think about that? Is there hope?
So I think we are in a more positive place than we've ever been because people are still talking about this issue. According to Rasmussen reports, 62% of Americans still believe the 2020 election was decided by cheating. That's down a couple ticks from 66, but that's still really high. But I think the fact that the public's mind, the Overton window, has shifted toward fix these elections, and watching one entire political party oppose a 85-15 measure to ensure that only citizens vote in our elections, that there's ID requirements in federal elections, really tells you that there's something else they don't want out there. And that also comes to life with the failure to turn over voter rolls to the DOJ.
Well, Seth, thank you so much for joining us. Seth Keshel, author, The American War on Election Corruption. I really appreciate it. You want to look up that book and go through it? I'm going through it right now, and I'm looking forward to getting all the way through it. The number here is 610-363-1110. Did this spark some questions? We'd love to hear from you. 610.
Preborn is making motherhood possible for thousands of moms across America.
I found out that I was pregnant, and my family, they were like, no, you're not having this baby. I met Miss Linda. She told me about all the great resources, like they offer free baby clothes, they offer free classes, stuff for her mom. She prayed with me. She told me to ask God to, guide me to my decision. She made it completely like my choice. She offered to get me an ultrasound, and I found out I was 6 weeks pregnant. That's where I very first heard the heartbeat of my son, and I was told, whatever I gotta do, whatever comes my way, I'm just gonna, have this baby. It was really a great thing that I was led to the choice to keep on.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM. Navigating
important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Folks, hope you enjoyed that interview. It was great to have Seth Keshel on. I would definitely encourage you to check out his book for sure. Really good stuff. Mark, we are getting a call coming in from Florida. Let's talk to Cecilia.
Why don't we do that? Cecilia, welcome to the show. Glad you're with us.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks,
Happy
Pastor, for taking
spring.
my call.
Happy first day of spring. It is wonderful. Yeah.
No, it is. That is. We can just get rid of daylight savings time. But
there you go, Cecilia. Don't get me started, Cecilia.
Whole nother show.
Yeah. So,
guys,
what's on your mind?
Well, I'm income investor. 74, husband's 84, and we're partners now for 6 years. Could not be more pleased with the way you guys have helped us through the financial. Maze of all of it out there. It's really been a blessing to us. And we're looking at our portfolio again, balancing, seeing where we're at. We are wondering about, since we are low in preferred, could we put the new REIT that you put on the list in the preferred section, since it is a preferred?
I'm a little confused on that. When you say REIT, I don't remember. Seth, did we put a new REIT on there?
Yeah, so Mark, this is FP23. Its industry is in mortgage REITs, but it is a preferred.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, it is a preferred, right?
Yep.
So the company behind it actually invests in mortgages. It's not really a REIT, and as I guess it could be considered a REIT. But no, that's fine. Yeah. A preferred is a good place to go if you're interested in income. Is that what you're?
Yes, we are income investors with that. We follow that asset allocation. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, it actually is a good idea. You know, the health on this, the company was worth putting on, especially because we need as many preferreds as possible. It looks like it's got a great future ahead of it. So I don't have any concerns for that. But yeah, a preferred is a great way to go, especially when it's cumulative, which means that you actually get paid before anybody else does. And if they miss any dividends, you have to be caught up before common stock gets caught up. Okay. Also, when we look at their debt and the short-term liabilities, for example, the short-term assets, they have $4.1 billion in cash in short-term assets, exceed their short-term liabilities of $370 million or $37 million. I can't look at my own notes now. And their short-term assets also cover their long-term liabilities of $3.3 billion. So they're in a good spot right now. Do I like their debt? No, their debt's a little high. It's $307, but they're in the mortgage business, you know. So
it kind of comes with the territory. Hey, Mark, not only that,
into refinancing. So
yeah, you guys have mentioned, you know, this is you're getting into these mainly for income, Cecilia. Just check out that dividend yield. You'll be very happy. It pays a good.
What is that dividend yield?
Yeah,
Where are we?
Mark, it's up over 8%. I mean, it's a really good one. Yeah.
Based on where this has pulled back to over time, it's actually closer to 12% right now.
Wow. I stand corrected in the best way.
So if you're getting in now, this
awesome.
Could be good.
Great
Remember,
play.
you know, the dividend yield is all based on what the price of the stock is. So if you get in at a low valuation and they're paying a certain percentage or a certain amount of dollars per share or pennies per share, or however you look at it, and then the stock goes up, you're still getting those dollar amounts, but it'll say yield, maybe it goes up twice as much, the valuation. So it'll say the yield now is 6%, but you're still receiving the same amount of money. So this wouldn't be a bad idea, Cecilia.
All right, let me ask you a quick question to follow up on that. We have a couple of non-cumulative positions. Would it be, if I'm trying to reorganize my money, and would it be better to look at the yield? You know, I'm a yield chaser, and trade off one for the other. That's that is a cumulative rather than non-cumulative.
Well, that's one of the benefits, I believe, of a preferred is when they are cumulative, because that puts you in first place. You know, I don't know. I'd have to look at each of the stocks individually, see their strength. If they're very strong stocks, you don't have anything to worry about. If, on the other hand, cash flows are going down or revenues are going down, that might be a concern because you're not in first place anymore. You don't have the same protection you'd have with a normal preferred. So
Gotcha.
it wouldn't hurt you to be. How old did you say you were? I'm sorry, Cecilia. I know that's. This will be just between you and me.
75. Yeah.
Cecilia, we won't tell anyone. We promise.
Yeah. So 75. You know, the safer you can be in your income, the better. So if you can go into the buy list and find cumulatives, preferreds with cumulative on it, that'd be great. And I don't have any problems with you moving it around to feel better about that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So far they've been paying. Everything's been okay, but I just wondered, since we had a new one on there, if I should look it over and in that way to see if changing from a non-cumulative to the cumulative would be a better for an income investor. So that's great. That's good. That's good. That's what I'll do. I'll look it over and see. Thank you, guys, and have a blessed weekend. Seth, great Bible study this morning.
Oh, Cecilia, thank you so much. Hey, thank you for bearing with me, too. I felt like my voice was a little weak, and I'm sure you could hear the kiddos coughing in the background, but it was so great to have you, Cecilia.
But, you know, your persistence is your faithfulness to do it every day, no matter what. I think about
Cecilia.
It's good. God is good. All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you for that encouragement, Cecilia.
God bless, Cecilia.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Talk to you soon. Yeah, no, that's awesome, Mark. 610-363-1110. Mark, that's one of the benefits of having, and by the way, I love Cecilia's encouragement at the end there too, but back to what she was talking about, that's one of the benefits of our strategy is there's that wiggle room to be able to fit the allocation model to what you like. I mean, we get people all the time, Mark, who ask, hey, I feel more comfortable in the fund model, but is it okay if I have one or two regular stocks too? And we tell them, it's fine.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of the benefits.
First of all, it's you're the steward over this that God has entrusted to you. We are the, hopefully we're the wisdom at the gate where you come, you sit down, you talk about what God has entrusted to you and you're wanting to do the best. So, you know, in multiple counselors, there is wisdom. And I believe that means multiple godly counselors, and hopefully we are godly counselors. That's what we strive to be, and we strive to help you to do the best you can with what God has entrusted to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Mark, just a couple quick things to mention here. Our Crossroads Kids Club Easter campaign, that is still active. We're going to be keeping that up through the middle of the day on Monday. So you've got the weekend to write that Easter card, but get it in before Monday, folks. We want as many of those cards as we can for kids in public schools. Go to reachourschools.com to do that, and our TrumpAccountsForAll.com petition. We want as many signatures as we can. People need to go sign that right now. Sign that Trump account.
I went in the other day, and I guess it was last week sometime, and I did a card, and at the bottom it said that I could cover the cost of all that if I wanted to, and I started going into that, and I don't know what happened, whether my computer blipped or whatever, but I got kicked out. But then I still got an email saying my card was accepted and stuff, but I didn't get the opportunity to help finance this campaign. So I'm going back in today, this afternoon, and I'm going to do another card, and I'm going to, if it kicks me out again, I'm going to just go and donate to it. You know, if my computer has a glitch, or I don't think it's their end, but
you say, fine, I'll write a check myself.
Yeah,
just take my money.
Because this is such a cool campaign. Is why it's. You don't have to contribute. I just want to because I love what Crossroads does. It's just a wonderful thing to encourage a child in Christ. And it doesn't cost anything to do it. They get an Easter card, and I remember the impact of what it means to get Easter cards and when I was in grade school and stuff, and how kids would give out Easter cards to one another, and how nice that made you feel just from your peers. But this is from a total stranger encouraging them in an environment where this might be the only time they get an Easter card. The only thing they may be playing, if their parents aren't already involved in a church or something, it might be all about the Easter bunny or Easter eggs and not really about the resurrection of the one true God. You have a chance to encourage them and bring them closer to either accepting Christ or in their walk with Christ through these cards. It's a great thing. I love it.
Really is, Mark. It's great stuff. Hey, folks, just a reminder, too, we got overtime today. So the show's not ending in 15 minutes, but you got to make sure you have access to the website, financialissues.org/live, or the app, or any of our social streams.
But that's no excuse not to call in right now.
Right. That's right. Thank you, Sam.
That's exactly right. You know, there's so much going on. We still also have the TrumpAccountsForAll.com, TrumpAccountsForAll.com. We're trying to get this petition up to the thousands. We're above 1,000. We'd love to see it in the multiple thousands. Please go out there and sign this. It's a very good thing. It's respectful to the government. It's telling the Trump administration, we really love what you're doing. Just make sure it's written in that they can't keep Christians from investing with biblical integrity by forcing us into a secular index that is 40% in abortion, pornography, sexual immorality, and other ugly things. And that's all we're asking. We're not saying that anybody else has to do it. Just give us an option in there as well. And write it in so future administrations can't change it that easily. 610-363-1110. 610-363-1110. We'd love to hear from you.
Here at Financial Issues, we believe in being faithful stewards of everything God has entrusted to us, and nothing is more important than investing in the next generation. Crossroads Kids Club is an after-school program that brings the gospel directly to elementary school children in public schools across the country. These aren't just programs, they're life-changing encounters that point children to Jesus and surround them with encouragement, mentorship, and biblical truth. If you feel called to be part of sharing the gospel with kids in public schools, visit reachourschools.com.
My baby was like this big, and I saw his heart beating on the screen. I went from, I don't want this baby, to talking to my child on the screen. That sonogram changed my life. I went from just Candace to Mom.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Well, Mark and Sam, looks like the markets are going to, at least from the start, finish on a down week once again. The Dow Jones is now down 1/3%, S&P down 0.5%, and the NASDAQ down 0.25% to start Friday's trading. So
it's my fault, guys. I started looking again.
Didn't the Dow turn positive?
Well, let me see here, Mark. Maybe my screen is a little bit slow, but that's what I saw last. Okay, so now the Dow is technically still negative, but it's flatlined, so it's showing some resilience.
It's less negative.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's at least good to see. Yeah.
What the markets do.
Exactly.
Seth, see if you can fix that, please.
I'll try that, Mark. I'll put my best man on it, as they say. Hey, speaking of one of the best men in our ministry, guys, it's a birthday today. Today's Elijah's birthday.
Oh,
Elijah
that's awesome.
is awesome. And I know our FISM family loves him. He is our broadcast engineer. He does such a good job, and we're so grateful for him. So happy birthday,
and our
brother.
Swiss Army knife.
He is. He does a little bit of everything here. Absolutely.
If we could just have like 4 Elijahs, if we could clone him and put him everywhere. Well, frankly, I'd probably be out of a job if we did that.
Right, exactly. And, especially with Grant having been out these last couple weeks on, leave, the work that Elijah does is so good. You guys can't see him right now, but he's switching the cameras right now. So you see his impact on the show. So grateful for you, brother. Happy birthday. So cool.
Happy birthday.
So, Mark, we got a great question yesterday. So at the end of yesterday's show, I got a call from Jeff. And he wasn't able to get on the air with me, but I talked to him after the show, and he asked me some interesting questions, and I thought it'd be good to get your take on this. The question was basically this: what is the call date for a preferred? And should we keep call dates on our radar if we have preferreds in our portfolio? But I'll just throw that out there to you, Mark, to start. What is the call date?
Well, a call date is the first opportunity a company has to actually redeem or call back their stock. Usually at about $25 that's the norm, is $25 par value. So all it is this is a date when they issued this stock. They built into this preferred stock a call date, meaning at this date they can start redeeming their stock, forcing you to sell it back to them at $25. It doesn't mean they're going to do that, but it means they can. They usually won't do that if interest rates are high and they have to issue more preferreds at the same or higher rate. Why go through the expense and time to do that? And it doesn't make any sense. But if interest rates have come down substantially, then they probably would just recall it, redeem it, and then issue new preferreds at a lower rate. So that's how that generally works. Should you keep it on top of mind? Well, I don't know on top of mind, but it wouldn't hurt to know the call dates on all your preferreds, because if something's coming up and the interest that they're paying, the dividend that they're paying is going to be higher than what they're going to reissue at. If interest rates have come down substantially, you may be redeemed at $25 a share and have to go find something else. And instead of turning into a panic, I got money just sitting in cash doing nothing, it might be good to just be aware of it. Not a panic situation, though. In most cases, it doesn't happen right away unless interest rates have changed dramatically.
Now, Mark, if a company is going to call its preferred, is it going to give you a little bit of heads up with some press releases, or is it usually just on that day they just call it?
Well, usually there's leak or there's some discussion about it. But the biggest indication is where interest rates are from when it was issued. That's all. That's the easiest way. They don't have, I don't know if they have to send out anything in advance. They have to send out something saying, hey, we are recalling this. On this date, we'll start buying back X amount of dollars worth. That's usually the way I've seen it happen. But I don't know if there's any legal reason why they have to do that, since they stated it up front.
Sure. Okay.
Good stuff.
I'd have to look into that. Maybe there are some new laws on that, or some laws on...
Well, not even legal. I just didn't know if there was maybe a standard practice.
Yeah, standard-wise, I've seen over and over again where they said in a certain amount of days, we're going to start redeeming this stock at $25 a share.
So, Jeff, hopefully that can be helpful for you, brother. Mark, if I can just kind of summarize it there, really for Jeff, I think his main concern was just, should I put a lot of emphasis into this, or is it really just keep the call date in the back of your mind in case something like this were to happen, which usually is unlikely?
Right.
Awesome. Right. Awesome. Great stuff. 610-363-1110. Folks, we got time. Get your call in. Make sure that you have access to the website or the app, because we're going to overtime at the end of the hour. Good question here, Mark, coming in from Michael. He's 70 years old. Says, hey, Mark, FP80 on the buy list seems to have excessive debt, approximately 500% with reduced sales recently, etc. Help me understand, how and why is this on the buy list?
Okay. It is a preferred stock, not a common stock. No, is that right? Is that what?
That's correct, Mark.
What are we?
Actually, yeah. And, Mark, I think that's really kind of the core of Michael's problem here. I think he's looking at the common stock and not the preferred.
Yeah, well, it's good to look at the common stock too, Seth, as you and I both know, to see the strength behind it. The dividend on this preferred is cumulative, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
So even with this debt, if the debt's well covered, if all the interest is well covered, then we don't have anything to worry about. And if they did miss a dividend, you'd get paid before anybody else would. So that's a good thing. It is a cumulative preferred, callable at 25. The neat thing about this is the largest produced water handling company in the United States. This is critical service for the energy industry, which is expanding incredibly. One of the reasons it's on the list is it's almost utility-like, if you think about it. Utilities generally have contracts for what they do, and so they run real high with their debt. They're able to do that because their debt is covered by the contracts they have. This is kind of like that, but not totally, because it's not always government contracts that are doing it. So they are able to run a little bit higher in their debt. What we're seeing though is that this isn't maybe for everybody. It may not be for you. You got to be comfortable with some risk. Who it might fit? Well, investors who are 70 plus, who it might not fit. Let me think about it that way first. It would be those people who are older, maybe 70 plus, and dependent heavily on income, investors who prefer maximum stability, because this company does have a lot of debt. But it is covered at this time. So investors who can't tolerate potential volatility or credit risk might want to step back from this one. Otherwise, it is an okay. It wouldn't be on the buy list if we still didn't have faith in it. The faith we have in it, even though we've seen the revenues coming down at one point, we really believe this stock is in such a great position that over the next year or two that we'll see a lot of positive impact on the stock. Now, if that doesn't start to actually come true, we will remove it from the buy list. But we believe it is going to at this time.
Great stuff.
And other analysts expect the firm to return a lot of back to profitability this year, even this quarter possibly. So that's one of the reasons it's there.
Very good stuff, folks. Now's a good time.
We may be in a little early. That's the thing that probably most people don't realize. Sometimes getting in early is a good thing. Sometimes it might cause a little fear, Michael.
Yeah, Mark, that maybe it's just because I'm a younger investor, not a younger, but more a larger risk tolerance. Getting in early doesn't really scare me all that much, because I'm in, and so you're gonna catch when it has that upswing, even if you're getting hit a little bit early on. But maybe that's naive.
But I think maybe that'll change once one or two of the stocks that you get in a little earlier never actually perform like we were hoping it would perform, which is indicated by all the data that we brought in and analyzed and said, you know what, this might be a really good buy. So Michael, I don't have any concern with you moving on from it if it bothers you. Right now, we're pretty set that. If it doesn't perform over the next quarter or so, we may change our opinion. So,
absolutely. Hey, Mark, let me just take this time to remind our listeners that the phones are still open. They're remaining open. Now's a great time to get in the call queue at 610-363-1110. And it's also a great time for you, if you're a new listener, to consider becoming a partner with us today. The Financial Issues Partnership is such a blessing. As you heard Cecilia mention earlier, it is absolutely fantastic. Mark, we hear all the time, $132 a year is just too cheap. And we want it at that price so that we can get as many people as possible to be able to join us and become God-honoring investors. So financialissues.org, that's the place to go to become a partner. Do it today.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And we're very glad you're with us. I was thinking about this. Spring is a day. This is the first day of spring. It's the day that things are being renewed. It's a great day to set your portfolio, to review, to make sure you have everything in the right place. Like Michael and Jeff and the others are asking great questions. Maybe you should ask those questions too, or some other questions. 610-363-1110. We're going to go away for about 30 seconds here shortly, and when we come back, we're going to be in overtime, and our focus there is to do nothing but answering questions if possible. So 610-3610-1110, 610-363-1110. Give us a call, join the party in overtime. We hope you'll join us, just like we are so glad you joined us today for the main show here. And just like we love the idea that you love God and you love to invest with integrity. God bless you all. We'll see you in about 30 seconds.
Never forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.